What's up, guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 2006 Jaguar S-Type. Up front is a 3.0 liter V6, and down below is a 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Jaguar S-Type for two reasons. First of all, I don't get to feature many Jaguars here on the channel. I just don't get offered that many Jaguars, and so it's always exciting to me to drive one. However, the second reason I'm excited is because this shares a platform with the Lincoln LS. And I've driven one of those actually recently and this year, and so I'm excited to kind of compare and contrast the Lincoln version and the Jaguar version as they played out throughout the 2000s. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 3-liter V6 under the hood. Well, it was again shared with the Lincoln LS, same engine you would find in there. And this engine has kind of a weird history. This is the Jaguar version of the Duratec Ford engine, which was bought and licensed from Porsche back in the 90s. It's very, very strange. However, Ford and Jaguar used this engine for a very long time. However, this was not the only engine offered here in the S-Type. This was actually the smallest engine offered in the S-Type. There was also a 4-liter V8 and a 4.2-liter V8 that gave it quite the sporty drive, but this doesn't have either of those. Like I said, paired to it is an automatic transmission. However, it could be had with a manual or an automatic. The automatic is shifting fine. The owner said that sometimes it'll hesitate at a stoplight. If you just stopped and the light turns green, you get back on the gas, it might shudder just a wee bit. But it's not the end of the world, and these transmissions are okay. Last but not least, the Jaguar S-Type is rear-wheel drive, as vehicles of this size and stature tend to be. So how does it feel to drive the S-Type? Well, it actually rides a lot smoother than the Lincoln LS. I don't know what they did to the suspension. Maybe it's the added weight of the car, whatever it might be. It's actually a nice, smoother, calmer driving experience than the Lincoln LS. The Lincoln LS felt almost somewhat sporty in certain ways, where this does not feel sporty in any sort of way, but it's comfortable, and that's what Jaguar was going for. This is an executive level car, and it gives you that executive driving experience. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 gauges. Off to the left is my coolant temperature and tachometer, and off to the right is my speedometer and fuel. On the steering wheel, we get voice command and phone options, which is funny to see in 2006, volume select, and our cruise control options. Off to the left, we have a climate control vent, our reset and units, as well as front and rear fog lights. Very European to have rear fog lights, and the gauge dimmer switch, and down below we have the gas cap release and trunk release. On the door, we have the latch to get in and out, power mirrors, and power windows, along with 2 levels of memory seats. Very, very nice to see that. Moving into the center, we have 2 climate control vents, and down below we have our climate controls. Dual zone climate here in 2006. Very, very nice to see that. Wasn't expecting that. But then we have our radio, and this is almost peak button in the era where there was a number pad, there was clear and repeat and mute, and all of these different buttons just for the radio. Towards the end of the 2000s, early 2010s, we really had the most buttons out of any generation of car, and then it all switched to screens. Everything went away and it's just screens, like this more modern Jaguar SUV. Screens. So interesting to see all the buttons back in 06. Then we do have our heated seats and central locking, as well as hazard switch and traction control. Ashtray and cigarette lighter, of course, and the shifter. The shifter is kind of interesting. I also drove a Jaguar X-Type wagon with this shifter. And so you put it down into drive, but then you can actually move it over and ratchet it through your own gears if you want. Very, very odd. This is a weird era in Jaguar, and we never saw this ever again, but kind of neat. We also have a power parking brake, very early to have one of those, 2006. And then we have cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Jaguar S-Type, and although it fails, I do have to give them slight props because the cup holders are 2 different sizes, so it can accommodate a pretty fair amount of cups, bottles, and cans, but just not the big friggin' bottle. Then we do get a center console and the seats. The seats are heated, power, and memory, and they are very, very comfortable. Again, more comfortable than the Lincoln LS. And I went into this video thinking that the LS and the S-Type would be somewhat on par with one another. Simply not the case. And so the seats really reinforce that. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2006 Jaguar S-Type, and a couple of things to note. First of all, I have to be honest, I'm kind of disappointed because this is an executive's car and my knees are being jammed into the seat in front of me. My head is hitting the ceiling, although the headliner's sagging a little bit. Still, with the unsagging headliner, my head is still a hair's length away from hitting the ceiling, and having the glasses on my head just isn't really an option. And so it's an executive car. I expected a little bit more out of the space, but then again, the platform wasn't that big, so, you know, pick your poison. I do have a center console here with 2 cup holders, again, unequal sizes for small and large. I have ashtrays in the door, so I might be jammed back here, but at least I can catch a lucky strike or whatever. Wood accents on the doors as well. The nice tan interior carries on, and I do have 2 climate vents back here. It's nice to at least see that, but feels like the bare minimum in a car like this. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the S-Type, and we do have a button here on the key fob to open the trunk, and it opens it all the way, which is very, very nice. Once we are back here, nothing really too crazy to write home about. As you can see, not much really going on back here. I'm not shocked or surprised, but it is a pretty good sized trunk. I feel like, Jaguar, if you're listening, 15 years ago, they could have moved the seats. Oh my God, it's actually 18 years ago. They could have moved the seats back a little bit, giving you a little bit less trunk space, but a little bit more seat space. But alas, they did not do that. And so here is the trunk of the Jaguar S-Type 3.0. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I love the look of the S-Type. And this also speaks to the era in the 2000s, mainly from the big 3 American automakers, but there was this emphasis on retro. We had this vehicle's platform mate the Ford Thunderbird. We were getting cars like the Chevy HHR, the PT Cruiser, the Plymouth Prowler, the SSR. There was sort of a throwback era, and this car as a whole from 99 until 2007 was a throwback to an older Jaguar S-Type from the 60s. And so you can notice that with like sort of the bubbled rear window, and just the overall design sort of looks like a throwback to the 60s, because it is. And that was really, really cool to me. I didn't realize how wide that retro wingspan truly was, but it spanned all the way across the pond to Jaguar. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Jaguar S-Type from 2006? Well, I've had a really positive experience here today. Like I mentioned earlier with the seats, I was expecting this to basically be a Lincoln LS just from overseas, with maybe some rear fog lights and a cup of tea in the boot. But that's not the case at all. It really truly does feel like they re-engineered it. And if no one told me that this shared a platform with the Lincoln LS and Thunderbird, I probably wouldn't have picked it out. Now, this car isn't without faults. It has given the owner quite a few headaches, and it's actually a miracle today that there is no check engine light on. This car nickel and dimes you any chance it gets. It's one of those European cars. Right now, the EVAP system isn't happy. It's had ignition coils randomly fail. It's had little things here and there. But like a leaky faucet, it'll never flood your house. It'll just be irritating for your entire stay at the home. That's how this car is. Knock on the fake wood shifter, it's never broken down on the owner, never left him stranded, but there have certainly been a couple of sighs when opening up his wallet. But beyond that, I actually think that this is a really nice luxury car, and the owner bought it for sub $5,000. So to be driving around in something like this, that ain't a bad deal. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Jeff for letting me take out his Jaguar S-Type. We are filming a couple of his vehicles here today. Jeff has been absolutely wonderful to work with. I appreciate him extending the invite for me here today to film some of his fleet, and I'm excited to do so. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.